Hello, everybody. It's your humble homesteader friend here. Today, I want to show you how I process the calendula that uh, you saw me deadhead outside and the plant of it. I shot another one of these without the sound, so you could tell me if you can which you prefer, to hear me talk while I work or just to see how I do it without the sound. It's sort of an ASMR thing. So after deadheading them, um, I bring them here and I leave them on a cloth to dry a bit, and then I pull off the actual petals off of them, and I leave these heads to dry here on the table. But I'll show you that in a minute. But these are already dry, should be, and so I'm going to process them by taking the seeds off of their heads and saving these for next year to plant. And this is what they look like. I'll just show you a few on my hands. I don't know if you can see. And so just a little bit of a pinch and they'll come off of the heads, and if they don't, it just means that they're not quite dry yet. I don't mind leaving them here to dry a little bit longer. There's no rush. We're not, this is life in the slow lane. Very therapeutic. See how they come off and completely right off the heads, and even after these little leftovers go into compost. And if one gets missed and gets to come back, gets to live in the compost and come back as a calendula flower next year. Sometimes we call them volunteers. That's not a bad thing, is it? Saves us from planting it. Who has so many flowers? I mentioned another time, people talk about the apocalypse and end of days and doom and gloom and seed saving, like I'm doing here, but they're talking about tomatoes, potatoes, and carrots, and we had some arugula, if you saw, but nobody really talks about saving seeds of flowers. Don't know why, because we would still need pollinators to pollinate those survival seeds that people saved. And yet, I rarely hear anyone talk about saving seeds of flowers for such post-apocalyptic times, for those who subscribe to it. So, not trying to advertise for these yogurt folks. This is our favorite yogurt. This is not a paid review or advertisement for them. Just the fact that we try to use whatever we have, and we have so many of these containers, and they make perfect for this kind of project. And then what I do with these seeds, some seeds, and I don't know if these do, I guess apples or some fruit, they need to be in the cold over winter sort of dormant. So what I do is I put the lid on this, or whatever the seats that I have in, and they go in the garage for the winter before coming out in the springtime for us to plant them. And then I send some of these seeds, or whatever seeds that I have. I also have poppy seeds. To, this a YouTube channel is not monetized or ad supported. So, and if you live in the rural, you have to find ways to support yourself, pay for things. And so anyone making a donation of, say, more than $5, $5 or $10, we will send them seeds. And it has to be, I suppose, enough of the donation to cover the cost of the shipping, especially if it's going to international. Yeah, it's very therapeutic. So if anyone with ADHD or folks having a difficult time focusing, this sort of thing is perfect. And I'm going to be shooting other videos to show what you can do if you have ADHD traits and difficulty focusing. I hate saying ADHD because it's not a disease, and we'll talk about that when I shoot that kind of video. Doing good. I've already fairly quickly cleared half the table. And as soon as I do that, then I'll show you how I do the actual flowers. I couldn't do that before because I had to clear this table for you to see the process. So that would be actually the first step. You're seeing the second step now. Well, technically the first step is deadheading them from their plants once they're done blooming. In that silent video, I was trying to say or show that you don't need to leave them in the sun. I don't know if they're sun sensitive or heat sensitive. So today is the first day of the fall, and so we still have a lot of nice sunny days left. So you could leave them we're in our sunroom. You can leave them in your sunroom with the curtains pulled, or if you have a room that's fairly sunny. And so what would happen is that it would just dry slowly. In direct sun, I just worry that if you damage it, then you waited 6 months to plant these, and then you go and plant them, and they may not take. And by the way, when I send these seeds to our donors or anyone, I would send a good number of them. I mean, I wouldn't be counting, like 5 seeds or whatever. Just because sometimes they may not be all viable seeds. And so then again, what do? You've waited all this time, all excited in the springtime to plant your seeds, and nothing. So see, an occasional bit of center of the flowers left on that I couldn't get peel off when I was doing. I'll show you that second step that I can do now. Is really, like I said, this is life in the slow lane, and I wonder if everyone has this much time, because we think we don't have enough time in the day, but maybe not. We can not do so much on, not spend so much time on social media or the streaming devices, and do a little bit more, dedicate a little bit more time to this kind of thing. Just more therapeutic. Give your eyes a break, give your brain a break. You're kind of like on autopilot when you do this. There's no thinking required, and in fact, it may hopefully distract you enough from thinking whatever thoughts you have, good or bad, what else you have to do throughout the day, the rest of the day, what you had to do yesterday. I just have to pinch it off now because it's dry. Comes right off. The rest of it wasn't dry yet before, and still, that's okay this time. You see, I'm just giving them a little squeeze, and if they don't want to fall off, then they don't want to fall off. They go back on the table till maybe tomorrow. And so I just dedicate a little bit of time every day for doing this, and it's not going to be forever. Soon there won't be any more flowers left for me to deadhead and process, and so I won't have to be doing this all year long. And do something else at that time. Just one of the daily chores right now. Almost full. I have to go get me another pot. While I've got this time, I'm going to be shooting all these videos, as I've been saying, about life on the homestead, off the grid, daily challenges, delights. This is one of those delights, because processing, harvesting, wonderful thing. But if there's something that I'm not showing you that you think you would like to see, and because I don't know what you might find boring, what you might find interesting, go ahead and write to me, as they say in the comments below, and I'll do my best to read them. I mean, this isn't what I do for a living, and like I said, the channel is not monetized, so I have to leave time for doing chores, or if I have to. I also do. When you live in the rural, you wear many hats. One of the things I do is coach folks who want to live off the grid, or simply just move to the country. They don't even have to be on the grid. They just want a change of lifestyle, move out of the city. We go to school post-secondary for years when we want to train for whatever. But nobody ever thinks about how do you know, how can you find out about ins and outs of living this lifestyle? There are lots of web-based knowledge one can gain, but here with me, you kind of hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And I always give more than I receive, so not to give you an information overload, but if anyone employs me to, say you want to find out where to buy a house, where to buy land, what conditions, what to look for, or even you may even have a house that you've seen that you're not sure about. So this is full. I'm just going to set this aside. And now what I wanted to do first, before the second step, is this, if you can see. So I'm pulling these off the flower head, all these petals off, and I leave them to dry, so then I can do what I was just doing with the last batch. And if they don't want to come off, don't worry about it. Leave them out. They will come off when they're dry. These are the nicest ones. The whole bunch comes off. And this is one I've already done. Beautiful colors, almost like saffron colors. And this is what I just started. And I got more jars. And from here, once these jars are full, like that big, large, sort of a pickle jar size, once they're full, then the next step after that is, and I will shoot videos for those too. And the next step is to cover them right up to the brim with organic olive oil. And I will show you the kind that we use, our favorite brand. But you may not have access to that where you live. So you don't even have to use organic olive oil or even olive oil. But for us, that's what works. That's what we've been using historically, and so we're sticking with it. So once it's covered with olive oil, it goes and sits somewhere not bright, not on the windowsill, for instance. They say dark and cool, but not everybody has so much space to have um, to accommodate everything that they do. And so we just leave it on we have a shelf in the dining room, and I'll show you. Which makes for great conversation pieces, all lined up on those big, heavy, sturdy shelves. And once in a while, I go and shake them up, not stir them, but just shake them up, and just to make sure that they're getting mixed pretty well. And then 6 months or so after is when you go ahead and heat the beeswax to mix with them. First you have to drain it. You drain it. You don't need the petals anymore, and you can still eat them. And if you have chickens, you can feed them this, and I'm pretty sure it's not deadly. You can do your research though. And their eggs and the yolks of their eggs will be pretty gorgeous color. And basically all this is calendula and olive oil. So as far as I know, there's nothing taught. We fed it to our chickens, and they ate it, and usually they know. I mean, we had mushrooms growing in our chicken coop because mushrooms like to grow in chicken manure, and they wouldn't eat them for whatever reason. The button mushrooms, not on their own, they wouldn't grow because when you leave the stems, when you cut the stems off before eating yours, however you eat it, raw or sautéed, well then the stems we would put in the compost. We found this out quite by accident because there were button mushrooms growing in the size of my hand, and we couldn't figure out what that was. We asked around, we asked some people what they were and where we found them, and nobody could say for sure what they were until we finally figured out what, because it's a button mushroom. No one's ever seen it. When you go to a store to buy a button mushroom, those white ones, they're never that big, and so no one has ever seen them. So these were like mushrooms on steroids, white button mushrooms on steroids, and because they had all of that chicken manure to themselves, and because they were allowed to get that big, whereas in the store, usually you might see a portobello that size. Even some portobellos I've seen smaller than that. The ones that we had in our chicken coop. So my point is, don't throw anything out. Once you drain these of their olive oil, you don't have to. You just put it in your compost if you don't have any animals to feed them it to, and that should be fine. Otherwise, compost is fine too. From what I have harvested from the other day here on the table, I have halfway. I'm halfway done with that, and then I'll spread out on the table what I harvested just yesterday to dry. Okay, I think that's, well, maybe a little bit more. Just only because I don't want a lot of air space or This way you'll probably use less olive oil too if your jar is fairly full, as opposed to air gaps to fill. You know what I mean. Feels good to make your own salves for your family, and in this case very clean. So basically calendula, olive oil, and beeswax, and a bit of thyme as in thyme, for them to marry and marinate. That's it, 3 ingredients. And also, you don't even need to, if you don't have access to organic beeswax or any kind of beeswax. We get ours from an Amish family. You don't have access to beeswax. You can even skip that part. So this would then be a lotion. Not a lotion, but like not a thick salve. It would be like an oil, but it would be still thicker than regular olive oil. You can still rub it on your hands and arms and legs. Come winter, and you can let me know if this has ever happened to you. January, February, the house is so dry that, when changing or before going into take a shower, you'll notice how dry your legs are, the skin on your feet are, or legs are, or arms, forearms. And your face you see every day. I try not to look at myself every day, but if those folks who do, you see your face every day, so you might put a lotion on every day, but it's not every day that you have to take a close look at your feet or your legs. And if you do, you'll have a fright just how dry your skin is. Well, this, or if it's just the oil, if you don't have access to beeswax to put on, works wonderfully. Yeah. Why not? So then you want to use 2 ingredients. It's even less ingredients. Not that there's anything wrong with beeswax. So I think this jar is full enough. Set that aside. Get another jar and start filling it. If at any time during this video, I don't know what time this video or any video of mine, you feel like taking a nap because of the sound of my voice, or how calming these videos are, you go ahead. But maybe, I don't know if it's possible to set your computer on a timer so it goes off and you don't waste power. Or sometimes YouTube will, I don't know how to stop this. It just goes on to the next video and the next video and the next video. Goes on forever. So maybe find a setting where you can see how long, for instance, this video is, especially if you're shooting this at night. Watching this at night. And so set it for however the length of the video is, and then have it go off. I'm not very technical. I don't know if there's if you're able to do something like that, but if you are, that would be a nice way to do it. Or if there's say, when I get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, too much information, I know. Sometimes I have a hard time going back to sleep. And so if you're the same, maybe come and watch one of these videos then. And maybe you'll fall asleep. Certainly what will not happen is that you won't spend all night tossing and turning, forcing yourself to go to sleep. I mean, it's easy for me to say. I don't have to necessarily get up and go to a physical place to work. So I say, yes, watch these and maybe stay up and not go to sleep. But you may have to. But the only question is, my only worry is that if you're not able to sleep, just tossing and turning, that's not helpful either. So try this. Okay, here's the thing. Try this one time and see if it works. If it puts you to sleep. If it puts you to sleep, then you'll have a nice, restful night, and you get up and go to work the next day. And if it doesn't work, don't do it again. You may have to watch the video again and then have to listen to my voice another day just to see what you missed. But that's a problem to have. Better than not being able to sleep. I always wonder how, it's one thing to have insomnia, but I guess that makes for good truck drivers that have to drive long distances. Though, are they supposed to be driving at night? I know that some of these poor folks, poor as in, feel sorry for not saying, have deadlines, what's the word I'm looking for? They have to be somewhere within a certain time limit. And I have a neighbor or two who are truck drivers, and they told me that they don't get paid while they're idling. Say they've arrived with a full load of paint at the destination. Now, oftentimes they don't drive back with an empty truck. So while they're waiting to get another load or loaded, because I suppose they've already pre-arranged somehow, they're not getting paid until the load is on the truck and they start their journey. It's not right. I mean, I know that technically it's like being on a break, but they're not. It's not like they're at home and they get called into work. They're there. There's nothing. They can't do anything else. Sometimes they may even be out of the country. So what are they supposed to do while they're waiting? for the truck to get loaded by another company. However length of time, an hour. Sometimes you might have to wait a day for them to find something that needs to be brought back to another location. Not good. We don't think about these things. I'm shooting a series of stories I plan on, and I've been wanting to do that for 25 years exactly to date. That's when I first attempted to do this, not on YouTube, just wanted to shoot documentaries. And a lot of times we know what challenges we have in our lives, but rarely do we know what other people go through. This jar was empty when I started. See how full it got in 10 minutes. So if you know anyone that's led an interesting life, or is already, if they are already now currently, then they probably wouldn't have time for an hour or whatever, however long interview with me. But or maybe that's you. I don't know. Let me know, and we'll connect and talk. But one thing though, these interviews would be posted on. I don't have social media, and is YouTube a social media? Maybe it is. Anyway, I just have YouTube. Well, my point is that you would have to be okay with it being posted and other people seeing you, or if it's in the form of a podcast, hearing you. But it's therapeutic, even if you've had a hard, particularly difficult life, to talk about it. And I don't even know if anyone will come and watch these videos that I'm shooting. But if they do, I'm kind of already letting you know that that is a possibility. So if you don't want to be known or trying to be under the radar for whatever reason, then this would not be for you. I keep thinking. So I finished what I had on the mat here, but I have a lot going still on the other side from the other day, and they seem like they want to peel off easily somewhat, because they're just a bit sticky right now, as they're still fresher than the batch before, but still they're coming off. So while I'm standing here, I'll do it. If you don't mind, I don't mind. I remember when I was little, my grandma used to. Well, I lived with my grandma for. When I say lived, I mean she raised me or babysat me at least, while my parents went to work. And sometimes, her and her neighbors got together, the other elder housewives, I suppose you can say. We get together and do what I'm doing now. Process things, or maybe cook together. Especially in particular, some dishes that were labor intensive, and it could get boring doing it by yourself. And so they would chit chat. And I remember I was little. I was maybe 5 or even less years old, and I would listen to the stories, or how they would laugh, or reminisce or whatever, and yeah, and gossip too. I suppose we all do. I've been known to gossip, and it's just yeah, just making the day go by faster, your chores done faster, and I cherish those days. I mean, and there were some dishes that um, were really labor intensive, like something called this is a Russian dish now, a piroshki, or like our own, or some maybe other variation of it called pierogi, or it's really our own pierogis that we have here. Like they looked and tasted different, the ones I remember, and stuffed with different things that I remember, but the same basic process. Anyway, they were very labor intensive. Somebody rolling the dough, somebody cutting it and folding it, somebody maybe preparing, frying, whatever that stuffing that would go in it. And I would just be there. I just sit in there or run around, and I would be entertainment for them as much as they for me. And sometimes I would hear something that they didn't think that they had to hide from me, and I would say it at a gathering. I said, "Where did you hear that from?" My grandma said. Get her in trouble, or whoever said it at that gathering. And then they would laugh, but they would also know that it was something that was not meant for my ears, and yet the adults thought that it was safe because what does he know? He's just a little kid. Okay, we are almost done. I may deadhead some today, now that I have the space to bring it up. Every second day, every third day would be good to check on them. Definitely before the rain. Now, we haven't had rain for maybe 3 weeks, and the forecast doesn't call for it. So it's okay to wait. But I just don't, once they're dead, I don't really want them to be there because the wind might do this work for me. Not for me, but then I have to go look for them, as they'll be scattered now, the petals. I hope you're able to see all the stuff that I'm doing. Look, the jar is almost full. Can you see? I'll try to push it down as much as I can. Probably should have picked a bigger jar, because they're going to take more space on the shelf. Can you imagine going to someone's house? Oh, there's a little caterpillar that made it here with my... how do I... Okay, I have to somehow gently and gingerly pick it up and take it outside to do its thing there. Boy, my fingers are sticky. So this work that I'm doing here today is a 2-batch day chore. So normally it would have taken me half as long, but I had to skip a day, and so now I'm trying to make up for it. Just fine. Just saying that normally it would not have taken me so long. Here's some that's already separated. It's because they were drying. Wow, look at that. That's a decent amount. Did I miss any? I'm sure some of you are watching and telling me that I missed some. Look over there. Get it all. Okay. So that's all for now, folks. I will show you a jar full of oil next time, maybe. That would be the next phase. Thanks for being here.